Ukraine and we haven't solved the energy problem? You can take it from any way you want, but give me a 30-second answer. Nigel, do you want to start and Joe go after? Please.
I don't think we'll have an answer by 2023, but I think something has to change. And I guess there's a good African proverb that says, if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. And I think we need to do both. That's going to need a different level of collaboration between policymakers, industry, people here, and it will need de-risking some of the investments, which I think is going on right now. So to me, that's what I hope we've resolved, and there is no short-term answer for the current supply-demand imbalance.
Wow, interesting. Joe?
Yeah, well, I think the Belgian Prime Minister recently said that Europe could easily see 5 to 10 years of difficult winter. So I think we will be dealing with these issues again, and here's why. Because, in previous periods of high prices, what the famous saying is, the cure to high prices is high prices. Eventually it'll attract more investment, et cetera, et cetera. That's not going to happen now. We've made structural changes to our energy sector and our energy market. We're trying to basically limit the supply of hydrocarbons before demand is reduced correspondingly. And until we admit that and address that, and as others have said, the IF came out with a report with S&P Platts on this investment issue. We said that it has to increase to about $525 billion per year for the next 10 years just to meet demand. And until we start doing that, and this is a little bit of a wake-up call, yes, but and I understand the investment thing is not a short-term fix, but I think if we start sending signals that we're serious about solving the investment, it'll have an impact.
Okay, Octavio.
I think in 2023 we will have a number of challenges that we have no idea what they're going to be resolved. If we have a really bad winter in Europe, will the European leaders continue in solidarity against Russia on the Ukraine issue or not? Will they open the spigot to get additional energy sources to alleviate or face a terrible whiplash? I think we have a problem with inflation. It's here to stay. It's not transitory. Even the Feds change their language. It's here to stay. We better get used to it. We have a huge supply chain issue across many different aspects of our activity, and depends on what happens in China, whether they've been up their demand with zero COVID policy or not. We could have a much worse situation. Long term, nothing will be resolved by 2023. I'm afraid to be that sobering on that thought, but we'll be here talking. I heard something this weekend that really made me think. What needs to be said has been said, but not everyone has said it.
Oh. Can you, pray tell, finish that sentence?
I'll finish in 23.
Okay. Although no laughing matter. It's up to Dan, and then I'm going to go to Peter, but Klaus Dieter have the last. Go ahead, Dan.
I'll be quick. I'll be optimistic as well. I think the war will end.
You are optimistic?
I will be optimistic and suggest that the war will end by 2023, by Gastech 2023. That will end peacefully. We will not have solved the energy crisis. I think Joe's correct. We've got a situation where we tried to reduce demand on hydrocarbons and without suitable alternatives. And that's been fundamentally our problem. We've created scarcity in the marketplace. And some government policymakers have, in my opinion, over-indexed on things that are still speculative in terms of energy production. And we have to admit that, we have to recognize that, we have to address it head on, and we won't have done that by Gastech 23.
But going back to Joe's point, we have to give some signals, right, to start to right the wrongs there. Peter, please.
I would be optimistic. I think the shock, this unprecedented situation, kind of brings us back to thinking about the fundamentals, as I said. But I have great confidence in the industry and the stakeholders. I think there's enormous talent, on the panel out there to kind of, address these issues again. I think there now is the clarity perhaps that wasn't there for some of the stakeholders as they've seen what's transpired. And I think with all of the collective capability in the industry and, effective collaboration, between the suppliers, between the consumers, the regulators, governments, and indeed financiers, I think there are great solutions ahead. I think the industry is well capable to respond. And so I'm optimistic that we'll be talking about you know, a different landscape, an improved landscape, even 12 months from now, and if not even shorter.
Good. You should have a drink with Octavio to sober him up a little bit.
We are planning that already.
Klaus Dieter, since you've gone to like a 9-month boot camp as CEO,
Yeah.
right?
No,
What are the words of wisdom after coming out of boot camp?
I can tell you, I would like to follow the advice of a long-term senior mentor that I had. If you are in uncharted territories, don't make any predictions.
That's
No
not very
forecast from my end.
It's all bets are off on predictions, is what they say. We always think about disruption. I read a book by Helen Thompson, which I'd encourage you to read if you haven't read it, but it talks a lot about energy and what we did after World War II, after World War I, and you could see the influences of the last 40 or 50 years to park us where we are today. But ever since the 1990s and kind of the beginning of my career, the level of disruption we see today, I don't think you could ever have predicted it 24 months ago, right? A lot of forces at play. Fantastic panel. I really appreciate all the candid discussion. This is called a mantle because we don't have a woman in the house, so we'll have to address that in the future. We could have swapped me out and provided some balance, but I'm glad I got a chance to share it. Can we give a nice round of applause to this fantastic group? And welcome, Ed.